the OCP Critical Facilities Operations Framework. This webinar will present the process Audits and Compliance Reviews. We will have a process overview, look at customer experiences and lessons learned from that, and end with a few final notes to consider when working with this process. The Audits and Compliance Reviews is an on-site service that is being performed as part of the site operations. This should not be confused with the compliance management process, which is part of the site management function, an off-site activity. So to look at that process, there's a separate webinar explaining the compliance management fully. This is the actual audits and compliance work performed on the site. The process aims to assure that other requirements than the formal service levels are not breached. What does this mean? Well, consider something very simple. Your site operations is certified according to ISO 9001, which is quality, or perhaps your data center is reporting according to the EU Code of Conduct for Energy Efficiency. And that means that you would have to perform at least an annual audit by an independent auditor to validate that you meet these standards, even though there are voluntary standards to follow. And it perhaps is not part of the service levels that you fulfill these, but still they are a must-have. That means you will have audits and compliance reviews being performed on site. So qualified experts that perform independent audits for regulatory matters. It could be regulatory statutory reporting or environmental permits, or voluntary standards or operations frameworks that should be fulfilled. That is what the audits and compliance reviews contain. A customer explained to me once, it's a co-location operator where many end user organizations share the same critical facility to run their IT environments. And the site owner explained to me that they are used to handling many external audits. Some examples include the legal requirements of the complete power distribution system that has to be done every 10 years, and also authorities that perform audits of their fire suppression systems, and that's actually on an annual basis on the fire suppression systems. The other audits, they relate to voluntary standards that they follow. For example, they comply with ISO 9001, and they are looking to be an OCP ready facility. And on top of that, they also need to accept that several customer audits will be performed each year, and they can't really schedule for that in their annual planner, but they need to be prepared when a customer contacts them and says, we now want to perform an audit, and they need to get access and be allowed to perform that audit within a reasonable timeline. So even if those on-site audits are planned and performed by their customers, they still take time from the site engineers that need to support the auditors to plan it and allow them to get to the facilities and check documentation and the technical installations and all these things, and also of course respond to questions and fill out questionnaires and these kind of things. So these for a co-location operator, these are definitely something that requires some attention and professional handling. Some final notes on this process is that it should not be confused with the compliance management process that is run by the site management function. So the compliance management, what is that then? Well, that sets the policies and procedures for how to fulfill the compliance, whereas these audits are the actual independent experts validating that the compliance requirements or the policies have been fulfilled. And the major value of these external audits, of course, lie in the fact that they are independent and being verified. So you can get a certificate to show to third parties that someone else is actually vouching for you that you have fulfilled the requirements. But a good thing about them is also that they can be effective in reducing the time spent on similar audits. So by combining different audits through either the same supplier of experts or in a timeline using the same window of opportunity to let auditors do their work and report on the questionnaires at the same time can save time for your own teams, but also lower the risk of disturbing the operations of the site. And remember, this is on-site work, so it should always include updating and finalizing related documentation and service records. Of course, there will be audit reports with some findings. These will be documented, and those findings may lead to requirements of your organization that you need to review and improve certain processes or certain documentation, or perhaps even technical installations, depending on what kind of audit there is. And those things needs to be, of course, updated and finalized accordingly. Hoping you will join us for another webinar regarding other processes.